Hattie and I am back for part 2 of Kaleidow's Greek home. So this is going to be the whole of the interior for the build, and it is already on the Sims 4 gallery now if you want to go and download it. But the inside, I wanted to make it really, really bright and lightly coloured. So there's lots and lots of whites in this build, and I used a lot of stone on the floor and also on the walls because I thought that that would go really nice with this home. I had a few suggestions on the last video that I should do it with a really bright interior, so I did just that. But anyway, I did it a little bit differently to I usually do the interiors because I did the kitchen being one of the smallest rooms and it was on the right. And it's a bit strange for me because I usually do all my kitchens on the left when I'm building, and the kitchens are often quite big. But I thought, no, I'm going to mix it up a bit. I need to try out different things. And I'm getting to this horrible habit where I just keep doing the same layout on all my builds, so I wanted to make this really, really unique. So as you can see, I did some fancy floor tiles, which people seem to like. I get a lot of comments about my floor tiles sometimes, and people say, oh, I really like that idea. So I thought, okay, I'm going to experiment again. I'm going to try something different. So that's what I did here. I made the kitchen a little bit different. I put some black in there because I love black and white. I think it looks so fancy, and I think for a kitchen, it just really stands out. It looks like a show home almost. But anyway, this was the hallway in here. So the hallway was cream coloured. I wanted to use a lot of pale objects. I wanted to use a lot of plants for the house. So you'll notice that, of course, the bookcases were back. The return of the bookcases. Yes, I use a lot of bookcases in my builds, but I can't get away from them. I absolutely love them. I think they really fill up a build like this as well, and it just looks really good. I didn't actually fill up this house a lot, surprisingly though. I mean, I would have expected me to fill it up a little bit more than I did, but I think in terms of my layouts and stuff, I mean, this is probably one of the most basic interiors that I've done for a while, but I really liked it because it was a little bit minimalistic for me, because usually I clutter up my builds, but this one was quite plain, but I like it. It really worked by the end, and I've got to say, this is probably one of my favourite builds at the moment, and I know that I say that every single time I have a video out, but really I think that this house is so unique to anything that I have done recently. I think that it's very pale, it's very different, the interior doesn't look like I've done it, I don't think, so I was pretty happy, in all honesty. But anyway, this was the lounge in here. The lounge, as soon as I found that rug, I got so overexcited. It was unreal, because I was thinking about how I could have the lounge being a little bit different, being really open, and it was such a big room to fill up. And to be honest, when I first made the lounge this big, I was really worried that I'd have to make it smaller, I'd have to make it a little bit more cluttered, but I think the way that it ends up just looks really good, and I was very happy with it. But for this build, I was thinking about matching, and I was thinking about matching a lot, which I didn't used to do for my builds, to be completely honest. I didn't really think about matching, I just put any old thing in. But recently I have been trying to match everything because I had no idea that everything was supposed to match in The Sims 4. And everything just kind of is starting to fit together now. Like the curtains were starting to match those new sofas that we got from the movie stuff pack, and the rug was going really nice with everything. So this house was probably one of the most matching houses I've ever done. I was also feeling like an interior designer at this point. I was feeling like, okay, doing a pretty good job. I was happy with the way this was going, and I don't usually feel this confident about when I do interiors, to be honest, but I had a lot of fun with it. Had a lot of fun. I was just putting some stone in the lounge because I wanted to break up the colour scheme a little bit. That's what I did. The bathroom was pretty plain. I didn't want anything too fancy because it was just a bathroom that was almost under the stairs, not directly under the stairs, but I like how it's kept away. I like having my bathrooms at the back of the house so that when I'm playing with these homes, I don't actually have to faff about at the front of the house, because a bathroom at the front of the house is one of my biggest dislikes. I have no idea why. I think it's because I like to sometimes play with the walls up or half up, so it can be a little bit distracting for me. But anyway, this was the really small study area in here. I didn't want a really big study room because I wanted it to be a comfortable room. I wanted it to be a room with storage in and things. So I put loads and loads of plants in. This was when I started to remember the plants that I wanted in this home. That's what I did. Now, something that I have noticed recently is those lights that we got with the Sims 4 Get Together. As gorgeous as they are, for some reason they have the yellowest tint ever, and I have no idea why. but I had to change up the lights in some of the places in this build because it was just too yellow for me, and I wanted that really clear white colour and I wanted it to all match. So a lot of those chandeliers went towards the end because I actually preferred the lights that we got with the movie stuff pack, which were a little bit more modern, which I think went pretty nicely with this build. I tried to put some fancy decorations on the walls, so I've been doing that recently where we get those really nice wall decorations, and I tried to use the move objects cheat and do some fancy things with them, so they were in that room as well. But this was when I was doing the kitchen, so this was a bit that I was really looking forward to. I wanted to make it a little bit modern. I didn't want to have black counters in here. I thought about it, but then I thought it's probably just going to be too much black, and I thought grey would be a nice in between because it's not white, it's not black, it's just kind of in between, stating the obvious there. But anyway, so this was when I was just putting the plants in. I did it a little bit backwards in here because even though I hadn't finished putting the items in, like the stove, I was too busy putting some plants around, because sometimes I do that when I'm stuck on where to put things. I'll put the plants in first and then I'll put everything else in second. But I didn't forget the stove. I forgot the stove in a really old one of my builds, and I got so many comments about it. You forgot the stove. But luckily I didn't forget in this build. I haven't forgot for a while actually. I almost always forget those bins though, but in this build I luckily remembered. But I was trying to figure out whether I should put a bird table in here. I had no idea why. I was thinking to myself maybe it would be a little bit like a sink, but I ended up putting it outside. So if you saw the bird table before, it made its way outside pretty much as soon as I put it in here. I think I did put a bird table inside the build though, which I just quite like as just a feature, I think, just for washing your hands and things. I mean, even though the Sims can't use it, it's quite nice to have things like that, especially being a Greek home with lots of stone in. I guess that's what I'd imagine. I'm not sure though. But anyway, so I was just putting some general items on the walls. I really love all the wall decorations that we get with all the different various expansions, stuff packs, game packs that we have. I realised there was a brown window in here which I forgot about when I was doing the exterior. So if you notice that as well, I'm going to change it in a second and it just turned to blue. I think I forgot it because it was behind a tree and it's difficult to see unless you're looking on it from the inside. So yeah, easy mistake. But anyway, the dining room was pretty small. I think that it's quite nice and comfortable for a small family. So, I mean, maybe a family of 6. So that would mean a family of 4 and maybe 2 guests or something, I guess. But I really like that idea. I think that any more than that, it would have just cluttered up the room so much. And I wanted to make sure that all the chairs were usable as well, which they definitely are in that room. But anyway, I was back to the kitchen. I just put some little objects in there, and then the downstairs was finished and we are on to the upstairs. So the upstairs, I was trying to figure out where I would put the rooms. This was a really important bit for this build because it was such an odd shape. And I really do struggle with this sometimes. I think I struggled mainly because the staircase was really central to the interior, and I was trying to put 2 rooms either side of it, and I was thinking to myself, it just looks too cluttered. So I did actually take a lot of these rooms out, and I think this was the final layout now. I think it was. Yeah, so what I was doing is I was just getting all the flooring from the downstairs and I was bringing it upstairs. And it's the same with the wallpapers as well, because sometimes I do this to really make the 2 floors match rather than having them looking completely different. One of the windows glitched out a bit. Sometimes that does that, especially with move objects, but I moved it back. And it should, of course, be its exact colour by the end. I think it is just a game glitch when that happens. But it's so irritating. Sometimes it happens to my builds. I mean, it happens to every single build, but it really irritates me. Like, I can just look at it now, but I did actually move it a little bit so you'll see that. But anyway, this was when I was decorating the upstairs hallway. I put some plants in. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do here, and I ended up putting 2 bookcases and 2 lamps there, and then deciding that it just looked too even for me. I know that some people really love even interiors, but for me, I absolutely can't stand it sometimes. So I changed it, and I just put 2 storage cabinets either side because I thought that that would be quite nice. Even though it is even, it looks a little bit different, so that's what I did. I put a little picture there. I didn't want to put a mirror because I put so many mirrors in this build, and I knew that I was going to put mirrors in the bedrooms as well, so yeah, I didn't do that. But I did put one down the corridor, which I can't actually remember putting there, but it looks quite nice actually. Pretty proud of that. But anyway, this was the bathroom. The bathroom was covered in stone. As you can see, the bathroom was as big as I would normally have a bedroom. I quite like that it's this size though, and instead of putting the bathroom in the smallest room, which I would have usually done, I put it in a pretty big room. So it's got a jacuzzi there, which is quite a nice feature, I think, for a room like this. And I just put some plants around. I wanted to make sure that the toilet was usable, so I ended up putting a really small plant there just to make sure, because I didn't feel like testing it because I'd need to put a family in and all sorts, so I didn't do that. But anyway, so I was changing the flooring in here. I thought that it looked quite nice in that grey colour. I really like that, actually. I want to do a really industrial build at some point. So if you want to see me do an industrial style build with that flooring, then please let me know in the comments. In fact, if you want to see me do any style of build, then please let me know, because it really helps me out and I take as many suggestions as I can of people. In fact, this was a suggestion. In fact, I think maybe my last 5 or 6 builds have been suggestions. So yeah, suggestions really help me out. But anyway, this was the children's bedroom. This was a baby room, actually. I don't do these very often, but I thought that this was a really lovely feature, and I did not know what Kaleidow would want for this family. So I thought this would be quite a nice room, because it's an easily changeable room as well, because you could just easily change it to a children's bedroom with a children's bed in, as opposed to having baby cots. So I just put some wallpapers in. I liked them. I thought they looked nice. I like having the mismatched wallpapers, and that was the room finished. This was one of the main bedrooms, so I think I had 2 big bedrooms. I went for 2 big bedrooms rather than having 3 small adult bedrooms. I thought the grand bedroom look was probably more suited to this house, and I really like that as well. And I wanted it to be a little bit more open and bigger than what I'd usually do, so that's what I did. I put some electronics in here because I like having televisions in the bedrooms, purely because I just absolutely love to see the Sims all sat down on the bed watching TV. I think it looks amazing. I was also trying to figure out how I could incorporate some really old ancient stone items in here. In the end, I decided to put one of those ginormous pots in, which I was pretty happy with because I think that it fits this room perfectly. I was putting some lights in, and then I was finished with that room, so I'm on to the next bedroom. At this point I was trying to figure out what bed I used in the other room so that I didn't use it in this room, because sometimes I don't like to use the exact same beds. Even though it is the same bed, it's a different colour, which I think is important. This room was a little bit more girl orientated, I think, maybe for like a teenager or an adult female, I think, like somebody growing up. Oh, I'm not sure though. I put some flags in for the Paragon, so you'll see that in a minute, but I was just putting a fireplace in because I wasn't sure if I'd put a fireplace in yet, but I thought, you know, in here, I don't know if grease gets cold, if I'm completely honest, but I thought it'd be quite a nice feature anyway, just to have there, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a fireplace. It could just be a storage cabinet, which looks really strange. But I decided to put one of those outdoor sofas in here, mainly because I am in love with them. I think they look amazing, and I think that it really matched this room, so I was happy with that. Put some objects around, just some general decorations, because I like to make it look like it's been lived in, and make it look like this person, whoever lives here, is a reader and they wear perfume and stuff, because that's what I put in. I also put some flags in, not really sure why, but I think that it really went with the sofa. It went with the other pink things that I put in this bedroom, so I was pretty happy with that. So that is the end of the build. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you for future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.